Good afternoon, viewers. Thank you very much. Welcome to Punchline Africa Television, from the political command center, all the headquarters here, wherever I am in Mombasa. Good afternoon. And good afternoon across in Nairobi, the cold area, the cold weather that I have had. It is really very cold, medium, and I don't know how you are coping up. But unfortunately, this time the heaters are available and we have no problem. The other time it was worse. But thank you very much. Good afternoon, viewers across the continent of Africa and all Kenyans, all of you, wherever you were. I can see the man in Nanyuki himself. He's come up after a good relaxation. He's no longer the Grand Mullah of Nanyuki. Thank you very much across the globe. Good afternoon. Back in the studio, good afternoon, Miriam Ogutu, good afternoon, Kiptunai, good afternoon, Javani Karanja. Let's do it quickly like that. All of you, good afternoon. Take your microphone from Kiptunai, Kiptanui, sorry, Savania, in Nakuru, our legacy correspondent in the Great Rift Valley. On Tuesday, he will be home and about to see the cabbages that are being cut left and right because someone hates someone. We saw some cabbages, pictures of cabbages going around. You have to tell us not in details when Miriam accuse you in to say what you want to say from your region. You are the boss of that region. And on Tuesday, we shall resume with Governor Karanja. You take charge of Nanyuki. You go to the places that you want. We don't need to come there, Governor. You will only be provided to go, and you will be going. Be there. We shall be there with you. And thank you very much. Miriam, good afternoon. Back to you. Kiptanui, test the microphone, we see.
Good afternoon, Daktari. Good afternoon, Miriam. Good afternoon, Japan. Good afternoon, Gladwell. Good afternoon, Douglas Tarwish. Coming to you live from Nakuru County. Thank you for having me on this show.
Thank you very much, Japan Karanja. Test the microphone.
Good afternoon, Dr. David Matsanga, our viewers, Miriam and Akip Tanui, and the rest of the panelists. Maybe we will join later. It's always a pleasure being on Punchline Africa Television.
Yes, and it is a pleasure to see you. You have now copied my style of shaving the hair. This is good now. This is it from Nanyuki, the man himself. We want you to look at all the projects. Lucy, don't worry now. We have talked. Miriam, we have talked and talked. We have told them. I am glad to say, Miriam, to you, if you read my article this morning very early, it has forced the IEBC to publish the official gazette. Yes, you can't bring the ballots without an official gazette. Notice, there's no gazette notice. That's already a ground for nullification of this election. Period. I told you, they have rushed. Miriam, I believe you have even seen it already, and they have made more mistakes. They have now eliminated the names of those they like and the names they don't like. Wavinya's names, all Wiper candidates' names are not there, they are missing. Sakaja and the rest of all those are there. So this is a battle of all battles. We are not going to keep quiet, to put pressure, to ask for answers. IEBC is responsible to the people of Kenya. Therefore, if there is a mistake and you are baking bread and then you remove salt or sugar or flour, the product will not be called bread. The product will be called muffin.
Even muffin, I think, requires all that.
No, I was just giving an example. Don't catch me on the baking tactics. I'm not a baker.
The English muffin still requires all those ingredients.
Yes, and if one is missing, then Miriam, it is not the muffin that you want.
True.
Thank you very much. Everything back to you. I'm Dr. David Matsanga, all the way, and I will lead parts of this program. Miriam will lead the parts of the program, the home stretch. The home stretch. The home stretch is becoming the real home stretch. Is it littered with potholes of insanity? Let's discuss. But Miriam first, the headlines.
All right.
Newspaper review.
Thank you so much for that introductory part of the show. So I'll take us through quickly the headlines this afternoon. The Sunday Nation. The main headline is political split hits Kenyatta family. That is on page 28. Raila Ruto dish out free MP slots. On paper, nominated seats are supposed to be the preserve of marginalized groups, but both Odinga and the DP are keen to reward their key lieutenants who have failed in party nominations and those who quit the contest to join their campaign trails. That story is on page 6. And then just down there, the shady track record of IEBC voters register farm. That story is on page 23 and 24. And in the final installment of two-part special report, Nation team comes face-to-face with a vicious gang involved in the illegal organ trade, lifting a lead on the inner workings of the cartel. The kidney black market, that story is on page 2 and page 3 on the Sunday Nation. And then we turn our attention to the Sunday Standard. New theatre for Uhuru to Showdown. 10 years ago, Uhuru and Ruto were brought together by prayers driven by fear of criminal charges at the ICC and a desire to lead the country. Now in the twilight days of their term, the dynamic duo torn apart by political differences have again turned to divine intervention. That is on page 23. And then the Uhuru succession, that is a special report on page 8 and 9, and no more jail terms for child offenders. That is the new law that President Uhuru Kenyatta appended to on Friday, I believe. The story is on page 6 and 7. So that is what we have on the front pages of the two leading newspapers today. And maybe we start with this IBC story. But Doc, there's something that you brought to our attention about, I think it's the government a printer that is supposed to print out this gazette notice. But even if they have, which they're supposed to have done according to the timeline, which they were supposed to work with, because IEBC gave them a notice to have this gazetted on the 1st of July. And the government printer told them, because of the amount of names that we are supposed to publish and work on, it will take us at least 10 days. So the government printer, I think, has delivered on that. But also, be it as it may, that has not solved the legal problem that this now poses, because IEBC already has received the first batch of this ballot papers, and that was printed before this gazette notice. So it's already an illegality, whichever way we look at it. So maybe that will be a good place to start our conversation this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Miriam. Whichever way you want to go, whichever way you want to mitigate, those are mitigational circumstances, the ones that you have just said. It doesn't matter whether which note came what time. The court doesn't want to hear that. The court is not going to listen to the crap that they were given to government printer. There are several ways. IEBC has a way, and I'm telling you, it has the means to go and print a government official gazette notice. It can, okay, what was the rush of printing ballot papers when you didn't know what you are printing about? Those are questions that the lawyers and some of us like me, I've raised them. This morning I hit them. I said, show me why ballot papers are here when we don't have the official notice, gazette notice, indicating who are the people, who are they animals, or they are which type of animals, who you are gazetting, you are ballot. How did you ballot these papers? How did you print the names when you don't know them? How did you print the names when you don't know them? Because according to the current situation, the ballot papers that are here are illegal. And I'm going to speak my mind. If they tell me to leave the place, I'll go. But it won't stop an election being nullified. It is going to be nullified. This is already a done case. There is a lot of grounds for nullification. That is what I can tell you, Kenyans. Unfortunately, it is your taxpayers' money that is going to go down the drain. And you don't see it. It is you who is the ordinary person paying for another re-election on mistakes that we should correct before this election takes place. I have observed the elections and I keep on writing. And I have not missed the number of countries that have gone, 52 since I was born. But this is the most rubbish election that I have ever seen. I'm sorry. The Uganda one is even worse. The Uganda one, you can't call it an election. The Uganda one was a selection. It wasn't an election. Because when I talk, people think that, oh, I criticize on the Kenya. But this one is not an election at all, Miriam, compared to Kenya's standards of holding elections, Miriam. We know very well that the Kenyan standards of holding elections is very high in Africa. You are the country that we look at. Forget about my country. Don't tell me that, talk about your country. Because my country, there is no election, it's a selection. Once you have been selected on NRM ticket, you will win the seat. That's it. But here, there is competition everywhere. Even if you are selected on the ruling party ticket, there is a competition for you to win that seat. And you have been conducting your elections very, very maturely. Now you have reached a situation where a man has grown in business, medium, and my comrades on the panel. I used to co-own a nightclub in Kenya, and that nightclub is called Dolce. We are co-owners with another gentleman friend of mine. I was a silent partner. I met Mr. Oswago. I don't know whether, Miriam, you remember Oswago? Mr. Oswago, who was the CEO of the IEBC. He used to be our patron, one of the patrons who used to patronize the place with a group of well-organized other people that I don't want to discuss. Those are private matters. But he used to come to that joint. And every time I used to find him, I used to tell him, there's a lot of rumor about ballot papers and the printing of these. Prices were hiked up. And I told Mr. Oswago, why do you come yourself, Miriam? My partner, why do you come all the time to the media? You are the CEO of the company. Hire a media guru, an expert who will actually be talking to the media. One of the problems that the IEBC has taken over and swallowed is lack of communication. Communication experts, each commissioner is going to the TV. Yesterday you saw how many commissioners, Miriam. Did you watch your TV? Are you with me, or the commissioners, you saw them? Everybody was on TV everywhere, talking rubbish. This one rubbish, another one uncoordinated. They are the population that wants the vote to be free and fair will catch you. And that's how people are catching them. Already there are too many things, contradictory statements. And I used to tell Oswago, be careful. because you might end up in jail. Once the British start investigating any transaction of money, you remember Chebukati slipped in out of this country, and he never told anybody where he was going. He found himself in London with a Sipisu, with the High Commissioner, a Sipisu. That was the time the British Serious Fraud Office was alerted to follow Mr. Chebukati. Believe me or not, put your 2 eyes here. You are going to see. I'm sorry, I've told you now. Yes, what did he go to do? Chebukati is telling us he's very clean, everything is all right, we go ahead. But he has been investigated. Everything is coming to almost, there will be an arrest over these ballot papers and exchange of monies. The money trail has been highlighted. It is going to be found. The police will have it. We shall have a saga. This election, he didn't. Look, officially, Miriam, as I conclude, you are supposed to notify of the tender through the official papers. Any of you who can show me the notice of the award of the tender for the ballot papers, if it has been printed in any Daily Nation or Standard or Taifa ya Leo, if that paper has East African Standard, show me. Show me. Did you see that? By regulations of procurement and the tendering board, you are supposed to notify the public. And they went to London, and he thought London was in the moon. I'm telling you, Mr. Smith and Oswago, if they had listened to me, especially Oswago, they would have not been convicted. Mr. Smith got 12 years for inflating the price of ballot papers. Do you remember? And he was jailed. His property was taken. If I show you Mr. Smith's picture, which he has not allowed me to show you here, he's living in a council house. A man, a millionaire, a multimillionaire who his property was seized by the British government for corruption, and corruption czar came and seized the corrupt, anything, proceeds were taken. They went back to what we call DSS, Department of Social Services, which now gives Mr. Smith about 1,400 pounds per month, because he's an elderly person with a family and with disabled, walking with sticks. Miriam, if the Oswago, today in Kenya, Oswago is not yet even in jail. He was sentenced, you remember? But he has never stepped in a committee. But the judges even in Kenya found Oswago guilty. Does it shock you? The judges in Kenya found Mr. Oswago guilty of the offenses which had been mentioned by the prosecutor. If the IEBC does not learn from the mistakes, and it continues to do the same things that they have been doing, then when shall we learn from the history? That is my submission, that I am happy that after that article, the IEBC ran very fast and published for us the official Gazette notes, because we didn't know Now, as far as we know, we don't know these ballots belong to who. Who is in the ballot? In the ballot. Number two, Miriam, the cargo manifest of the consignment. Ha la 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 la. Ha la 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 la. Allah. The cargo manifest. Sindio, the tender was given to Athens. If you look at the cargo manifest, it came direct from London. How cargo left? How cargo left Athens? The owner imagined to be in London. Does it tell you someone who lives in London, who has married a Greek wife, was the person who shipped these things? Now I leave it there. That's the work is for Kinoti. If Raila is not opening his eyes, me Matanga have opened my eyes. I love Raila to win, not Ruto, and I'm frank. But if Raila keeps quiet and goes on singing, there is a problem here. It's a very big problem. These guys have made it very difficult for this election. We are just wasting taxpayers' money on an election that Kome and a group will nullify. On the first day, you want to take 10 days or 3 days submission. Do you know the number of petitions that will be in the Supreme Court? There will be more than, let me tell you, there will be more than 100 in that Supreme Court for this election alone. There are so many things that have gone wrong. Stakeholders, international stakeholders conference, the timelines. One of the things that this country, this IEBC has lost is the timelines. Miriam, you are one of those from last year. You are telling these guys, where is this register? I want any Kenyan who's listening to me to tell me where he has seen this register. Kiptanui, maybe you have it in Nakuru.
I've not seen it.
So do you know whether your name is there or not?
I don't know.
This was supposed to be made available 60 days to the general election, so that is also another legal hurdle there that IEBC is facing. And just to bring you in, Kiptanui, just on top of what Dr. Matanga has already said, as much as the government press has made this Gazette notice available because it was the one responsible for this, and IEBC asked for this late in the day. I think we had this conversation on Friday. IEBC had requested for this on the 1st, and IEBC expected the government printers to make this public the next day, but the government printer said no. According to the amount of work and the bulk of what you have to handle, it will take us at least 10 days. So the government printers, I think, hurried, and they were able to even deliver this before the 10 days elapsed. But be it as it may, as Doctor has already informed us there, now this has been made public, the number of the candidates who shall be vying for the different positions in the next coming elections. But what difference will this make? The fact that you already have ballot papers in this country before this Gazette notice was up of the people who are running is already wrong. So what difference will this make?
Thank you, Miriam. It is actually sudden. It's actually sad, Miriam, that the ballot, we already have the ballot papers around here. But do you know, Chebukati confessed last time I saw him. He said that he is going to suspend the elections on the areas where we still have some people that have not been cleared. We have so many problems. There is one question I want to ask Daktari. How will that be possible, Miriam, that now is going to general election? Let's say, for example, we have a problem like in Joro constituency, we still have a problem. We still have court cases between the UDA aspirant and the person who seemed that who went to court to accuse the UDA that they bank on the nominations. Now, tell me, we've gone to cast our votes on, like me, I'm casting my vote in Kilimo Primary School. I've casted my vote. They have now counted the votes.
Keep
I want
annoying.
you to
Sorry, could you just adjust your headroom? Adjust your camera so that there's... all right, that's...
Are you seeing me?
Yeah, I think that's better. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Now, what I was actually asking is this. Now we've just casted our votes. We are waiting for results, and there are some other 33 places they have not even participated in these elections. How will Chebukati? Are we going to wait results? Are we going to wait presidential results from those areas? What will happen now? Because he's saying I'm going to suspend this election in parts of this area. Is Chebukati not a fool? Surely, I think we need to. Why is it that Chebukati is waiting when we raise these issues here? He goes ahead and bringing gazette notice. I think there is a problem, Miriam, and the grounds that Daktari put in the morning, I've been following. Actually, I enough to even me, I'm not a lawyer, but I will also give out petition so that this election should be nullified. Thank you. I submit.
Okay, thank you so much. And you've raised very interesting points then. Before I bring in Javan, let me just read that story of what you just talked about. I see it, just a bit of it, Javan, before you come in. On page 24 of the Sunday Nation, candidates in at least 31 electoral areas could miss out in the August 9 polls after the Electoral Commission threatened to suspend polls over pending court cases. The radical decision by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, would also deny voters in the affected areas opportunities to elect their new leaders in the general election. It implies that the affected candidates could be forced to source for additional millions of shillings to sustain their campaigns pending new election, due to be announced by the polls body. Nairobi and Mombasa governor races are among the major casualties of the pronouncement by the IEBC chairman, Wafula Chebukati. So I'll not even go further with that. And I think you've posed a very important question there, Kiptanui. So what will happen? Will they not vote for the other candidates and allowed to vote for the presidential candidates alone, or how will this happen? And when you look at this story and these threats now by Chebukati, would you wonder, is Chebukati alive to the reality of the kind of dynamics as far as elections in this country, I think, goes, and what this could possibly mean if this threat could even be realized in the next coming elections? And also another question, and Doc, you've been posing this for the longest time. First of all, why are the papers in the country if some of these cases are still in court? So that's why you keep wondering, what was the rush to bring those papers, the ballot papers, the first batch, into the country? And the second, if IBC, like we can see now even for just this, truly is not fully prepared to have these elections, what is the rush? Maybe,
now,
yes.
Thank you very much. Let me even come with more questions. And for example, why is Chebukati disenfranchising our vote in Nairobi? Because Nairobi is where Raila Amolo Odinga has some of the good votes. We have 2.5 million voters, isn't it, Miriam? About 2.5 million people. If you tell me that you are not, there will be no governor's vote in Nairobi, because that is where there is contention. Because there are fresh charges that have come on Sakaja, the name might not be there, therefore you will suspend Nairobi. You are just disenfranchising Nairobi, killing the vote of the candidates. Two, how will you convince those people? Some of the people come to vote the governors, then vote the president. Yes, if you are telling me the governor X is not on your ballot, the candidate X, who is the governor for Wiper, someone will not have the time to go to the polling station. You are killing the vote. If you say Ngafi is not, there is no vote for governorship in Nairobi, Nairobi residents will say, let's wait until the governor's vote comes. Most of them, some of them will sit at home. Only few diehards who love Raila, because I don't think there is anybody who loves Ruto here. Those, most of them who love Raila will come to vote. You are creating an election. You are preparing an election at the same time causing voter apathy among the electorate. Therefore, we have a problem there. And that problem must be solved seriously. 2, can Chebukati explain to me how he printed the senators' ballots? Because those are the ones who are being shown on TV, isn't it? Senators' ballots. Which senators' ballots were these printed? And how are you segregating which area to print first and which region to print first? Are you not already gerrymandering the election? 3, who was there from the IEBC who went to supervise the printing, publication, perforation, and all what is involved? Which factory? What is the location of the printing? What address? These things are needed. Because we are going to ask them in court, and he will not say, we can't reveal you the factory, the word. Why is it that Chebukati in 2017 flew all the stakeholders into Dubai, Miriam? Everybody was in Dubai. You remember? That was the time when Akombe took the money of their allowances and disappeared. All stakeholders of political parties were in Dubai to see the paperwork, to make sure that these are the same ballots that are being shipped to Kenya. Why has Mr. Chebukati this time decided to print papers allegedly in Athens from a Leico company, Leicos, but the papers by manifest and the cargo manifest came from London? Where exactly were the papers printed? The cargo manifest is like the passenger manifest, and you cannot hide it from Matsanga. Any investigative journalist like me will have the cargo manifest. You don't need even to ask Kenya Airways to give you. You ask the cargo center. Luckily enough, these Bazungu are very liberal. Miriam, they are very liberal. You ask, they have even put all this, they have put all these things online. Ballot papers in Kenya, cargo ship, KQ airline. It will bring you what you want. It will even show you the destination. Who are the people sending to who? Who was the agent? We have already, I have a lot of information that I cannot even disclose on this television, but to keep quiet and pass it over to the relevant authority to help to ease, so that there is no confusion. Nobody wants a war here. Nobody wants violence. We want a peaceful election. But an election that has got pitfalls of insanity, a pit hole. This is a hole, very big holes, poked in holes of insanity, cannot bring peace. And I don't think there will be a peaceful way of resolving some of this if you don't wake up. You haven't even explained to the people, number 5, that there will be a manual register. Where is the manual register? Miriam, have you seen it? Where will it be? It will mushroom on that day, isn't it? We are waiting for that day. when the manual register is gonna be there. We don't know whether it is KPMG. Isn't it the same that the Shade track record of IEBC voters register form? Miriam, read for us there, ma'am. Pick for us there. On page 23, 24, pick for us there. You are very good at it. Pick for us. Page 23, 24. What does it, this is exactly what I'm talking about. The Shade, you can even now see that the IEBC is quick, medium, to advertise this conference. I think your people can, you know, you are advertising a silly conference, a very stupid, bure, kabisa, rubbish conference. To tell people what will they correct now? No, you tell me, stakeholders to meet at this hour. Isn't it waste of money? Can we in 29 days correct anything? A stakeholders conference has passed the timeline. We should have held this stakeholders conference 3 months ago after seeing what the Chief Justice and the group sat down and said, tell us the problem. We are here, we can also help. Someone went and wrote to Chebukati, don't allow that group to come. So now, you see, we lost time. Now we are coming with this a silly thing that you are holding a stakeholders conference tomorrow. This is a waste of government money. People flying in, people wearing badges. I don't need to waste time on this. What will this conference change? The ballot papers have been sneaked in quietly. Another thing that I'm querying, who signed the checks? Miriam, who signed the checks? Who in the treasury released the money to pay Mr. Lycos? Is that not good homework? Who? How did they release a check equivalent of that amount of money when the publisher, the tenderer, the man who got the tender was not published? It is a law that before a check is delivered of that magnitude, a gazette notice is notified and the public is notified that the tender was awarded to Lycos of Greece. So the treasury will go ahead to make payments for these people. Miriam, this was not done. I submit.
All right. Thank you so much, Jevan Karanja. So IBC is now threatening that if the courts, let me just read a bit of that. Consequently, the commission has asked the judiciary to fast track the cases before it is too late, failure to which the commission will proceed to suspend the polls in the areas. And I'll quote what Mr. Chebukati said. I want to urge the judiciary to finalize these cases. If for any reason they are not finalized in good time, then as a commission, we cannot wait forever. We shall be forced to suspend elections in those areas. He said the country has to hold elections on August 9th. And I think a lot of Kenyans at this point are asking, must we really? Kevin.
Javan Karanja.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, Miriam, and our viewers across the country. It's very important, and it's good to note that when Wafula Chebukati says that he will suspect election in those 33 areas, it raises an alarm, because there's a reason why it's called general election. General election means all elections, all areas of electoral process will be will be conducted on that particular date. That is why it's called a general election, not a by-election. And I think if it's a general election, Miriam, that we are discussing, then it should be held on the same day, and it should be conducted according to the law. I don't see why some areas should be suspended and others left to carry on with the. I don't understand why some areas should go on carrying the election when other areas are not doing so. I think the IBC as a party has slept on the job, and the mantle is on Chebukati's head to ensure that he guarantees all Kenyans free and fair, credible elections, and it's not right to deny those Kenyans in those areas a right to vote for the leaders of their choice. I don't think that is good, and I think Chebukati should rise to the occasion and ensure that we have elections in all those areas. What that means is that when people wake up to vote, there are those people who go vote for president and the rest of the people. If you make sure that election is not held for a particular candidate, that means that there are some people who will not go and vote for a presidential candidate simply because their candidate is not on the ballot. That is interfering with the election, and Chebukati should rise to the occasion and clear the way. And if it's a general election, to me, from what I understand, all areas of this country should go for election that day. If it's about suspending some areas, then we should wait until those areas are settled so that we can go for this general election. I submit.
Okay. And the Commission has since started printing ballot papers for electoral seats with no disputes pending in court, with the first batch having landed in the country on Thursday. IEBC has further indicated its plans to print presidential ballot papers starting July 15th. The Commission has announced plans to fly representatives of the 4 presidential candidates to Greece to monitor the printing. So Chebukati is still stuck with the 4 presidential candidates. As far as we know, there was a ruling that was made in the High Court just a couple of days ago that now gives leeway to some of these presidential candidates that were disqualified. Some of them could very well find their way back to the ballot papers. But Chebukati is saying, forget that. The presidential ballot papers, will start printing them on the 15th, and we are planning to fly the 4 candidates or their representatives to Greece to see how this process will start. Help me understand, Daniel Wesonga.
Thank you so much, Miriam. And of course, conversation on the IEBC is always very, very interesting. And this is because of the kind of deficiencies and ineptitude that has already been showcased by Wafula Chebukati since the 2017 general election. And maybe just to take you back on the selection of the commissioners that came to form what we have as the current IEBC. And on the interviews that were conducted, I would maybe challenge you to go back and check out the results on how each individual candidate performed. And I believe you, Miriam, Chebukati was number 8 out of, I think, 9 or 8 contestants who are vying to become the chairman of the IEBC. The number 1 candidate was Tukero Lekina, the brother to Narok Senator Ledamo Lekina, who is a very, very distinguished lawyer, a competent individual, and I believe he will have offered better services. He would have overseen an election of integrity, and he was equal to the hour. But we have to ask ourselves the question, who actually vouched for Chebukati to be put, or maybe to clinch the chairmanship of IEBC? And if you are able to answer that question, Miriam, then you will see the reason why Chebukati is behaving the way he's behaving. For the record, Miriam, Wafula Chebukati struck out the name of Walter Mongare Nyambane for the reason that from the presidential contestants list, they were initially 5, but Nyambane was struck out simply because IEBC said it suspected that his degree was in contention. They suspected that his degree was not genuine. But for a similar reason, he has not been able to strike out the name of Johnson Sakaja, who is also a contestant, in Nairobi gubernatorial seat, who even the Commission for University Education has come forward and revoked the validity of his degree. We've had evidence, even from the university, booklets coming from Team University, showing that this individual did not graduate in Team University in 2016. The university did not have the online learning program. outside Uganda, even inside Uganda itself in 2016. It only began in 2020 when we had the COVID pandemic. But Wafula Chebukati has not used the same powers he used to strike out Nyambane to be able to strike out Sakaja. He's actually now telling us that he needs a court order to do so. Which court order did he use to strike out Nyambane? Number two, under the same case, Miriam, it is now whatever case that we have against Sakaja, it is the same excuse now he's using to be able to defranchise the voters of Nairobi, as Dr. Matsanga says. Because, Miriam, some people would have gone to vote on 9th of August for Raila Odinga, but because Raila Odinga is in the same camp as Polycarp Igathe, they would have elected Polycarp Igathe. But since Chebukati now is using this excuse actually to be able to separate this election, and as my good brother Jevan Karanja clearly puts it, it is a general election, which means we shall be electing all leaders. But now Wafula Chebukati wants to conveniently separate these two polls, in that people who would have wanted to vote for Raila Odinga just as the presidential candidate and maybe vote for Igathe or any other leader just as maybe by the way, will not be able to do so. People who would have wanted to vote for Igathe, but because Raila Odinga is part and parcel of Azimio team, will not have the opportunity to do so, because if these elections are separated, people will go to vote for specifically their candidates as per schedules by the IEBC individually. Therefore, that means that we're going to be having some people who will be disadvantaged in this particular poll. Because I remember even myself when I voted in 2017, I had a clear candidate for president, I had a clear candidate for governor, I had a clear candidate for MP and senator. However, I did not have a clear MP for MCA, but simply because maybe I could use party affiliations and maybe the ideologies of various presidential candidates, I say, if I'm going to vote for Raila Odinga, then I'm going to vote also for an MCA from his party, since his party ideologies are like this and that, since the party leader of this party stands for this and that. But if you separate these elections, it means every individual candidate in this particular election is going to suffer a blow, and that is what we do not want. So Wafula Chebukati is acting in a way that is making Kenyans to doubt the credibility of these polls, and I'm very happy that Dr. Matsanga talked about these things more than 2 years ago, when everyone was talking about BBI, when everyone was talking about 2022, when everyone was mentioning about deep state and all that. He told them, look, you are talking about BBI, you are talking about, deep state, you are talking about even William Ruto resigning and all that. But no one is touching on Wafula Chebukati. This is a dangerous man. This is a man who is more likely to bungle the 2022 presidential polls. And how I wish that the people who are close to Raila Odinga would have paid heed to what Dr. Matsanga was saying. And sometimes Dr. Matsanga raises the question, is it because he's a foreigner? Is it because, he's like Paul preaching to the Christians of Judea? People have to understand that this thing is a process. And the process was to begin from the very go, where all these players will have made sure, first of all, Wafula Chebukati is struck out of office. Secondly, they would have pushed for a complete overhaul of IEBC. We still have people, not necessarily commissioners, but employees of IEBC who bungled the 2017 presidential election, which the Supreme Court said there was an illegality which was committed, and there were people who were held liable, but yet still these people are still working for the same commission. What guarantee do we have that these same individuals will not maybe commit illegalities in 2022? Already we have, an incident where some employees of IEBC illegally transferred a number of votes from certain polling stations to others. And that is an indicator, Miriam, that IEBC we are dealing with is the same IEBC as it were in 2017. And therefore, we should not expect credibility from IEBC. Miriam, we ought to have cleared the mess in IEBC. And it is more dangerous even at this moment that only 30 days to the election, IEBC is not even conducting itself in a manner that could maybe give the electorate the kind of confidence they need to be assured that at least they have moved from maybe the way they were conducting themselves in 2017, and now they are more determined to deliver a free, fair, credible, and verifiable election. So I think, Miriam, as it is, like Dr. Masanga said, this election is already a bungled election, and just wait for it. Already you've seen the rulings that are coming out of the court. They're actually telling IEBC, here and there, you did not do it right. And Miriam, even the Bible says, if you cannot be trusted on small things, then how can you be trusted on bigger things? So if IEBC is messing up, even in clearance of candidates, if it is messing up in clearing candidates who have integrity issues, if it is messing up even in criterion used to be able to clear presidential candidates, if it is messing up even in the process on which it is supposed to abide, in the process of printing ballot papers, they were supposed to first of all issue a gazette notice, gazette the candidates before they print ballot papers, but they've jumped the gun and printed ballot papers ahead of it. That tells you that this is only a disaster in waiting, Medium. And soon enough, you'll see, Dr. Masanga has told you that we are going to have court cases everywhere against IEBC. And even worse still, they are actually considering continuing doing these illegalities at the face of having maybe court cases against them. You know, they are saying that we will not stop the election, we will continue and only maybe stop elections where we have the court cases. Why not stop and actually look back and see where are we not doing things right and where did the rest start beating us, so that they are able to do things right and therefore go to an election that meets the constitutional threshold of a free, fair, and credible election. Okay. Miriam, I think as I come to an end, IEBC started messing all long time ago, and therefore there's only little that you can salvage in terms of putting things in order. And if we continue with this election as it is, be very sure, as the sun will rise tomorrow, it is going to be nullified. And it is not only going to be the presidential poll. So many elections from MCA, MP, senator, governor, and all the other seats, they might actually face the legal battles which have been precipitated by the illegality and the disregard of law by Wafula Chebukati and his commission. I submit.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, Captain Nui, before I bring in Dr. David Matanga, a couple of issues have come up there. And of course, even with the legal hurdles and even that ruling that we had from our courts just a couple of days ago that, gave a leeway to over 40 presidential candidates who were disqualified on the grounds of they did not have the required signatures. The court said that was not a requirement according to our constitution. So there are some of these candidates whose only disqualification was on the signature part, but maybe in other areas they were fully qualified to be on the ballot paper. So that is something that is still pending there. But Chebukati is still insisting that we are going to facilitate for the 4 presidential candidates to fly to Greece so that they can see how the printing of the ballot papers, I guess the presidential ballot papers, is ongoing, fully oblivious or acting as though we don't have already a problem that IEBC is supposed to be addressing and give us a way forward as Kenyans over that ruling that was made by the courts that gave leeway to some of these candidates. Should IEBC not give this a priority and perhaps address this first before he decides we only have 4, while some of these people could very well come back to the ballot papers? And if he continues to disregard that, is that not another legal battle that we are looking and staring at, Captain Nui?
Thank you, Miriam. As I said earlier, there is a deliberate scheme, and it is a very long chain. As Daktari has said, Miriam, that I also question myself, as I ask myself these questions, that how is it possible for Chebukati to run this show alone? You see, Chebukati, as Daktari had said, Chebukati actually has been running this show alone because he has taken the proceeds of the corruption due to this printing of these ballot papers. He is telling us he's going to disregard the other aspirants, and yet he's a lawyer. He's aware that these people will go to court and they will be cleared to run for this. Instead of coming up and say, oh, now that the court has said this and this, why don't we come as brothers and sisters in IEBC and seek other opinions from other people so that you will be in a position to print the ballot papers which bears the names of those people. They are Kenyans. Remember, one of them is a Guru Ekot. They are there. They are Kenyans and they deserve. In fact, apart from the legal battle that is looming, Miriam, yeah, I saw and I shared with Daktari. Someone differed with a friend. Maybe I don't know which political stand. Someone differed with a friend, and this person decided and go and chop the cabbages in Pan Forest in his farm. You see, Miriam, as I said earlier, this country we have come from dark. We've come from war. We've come from many issues that affected us in 2007, 2008. Tell me, Miriam, what will now? It was only difference. We've not even voted. Tell me, Miriam, we have just gone there. We've voted, and then we realized my preferred, as Sean Wesonga said, my preferred candidate is not there. What will happen? This the same person who came to your farm and akakatakata your cabbages will come and kill you. You will come even and destroy your property, not even your property. That is why, Miriam, I come from Rift Valley, and there are a lot of people who are seeing these elections will bring a lot of chaos. They are now coming all the way from Eldoret, coming from these hotspots, and they are going back to maybe their relatives in Central Province. So apart from the voters' apathy that Chebukati is deliberately going to bring this to this country, Miriam, as I finish, there is also a problem. Chebukati might be maybe the presidential candidate for UDA, which is using Chebukati to bungle this election, so that he will tell us, umeona sasa who are the lords of war. Umeona Raila now amekataa kukubaliana na election. The way he's now supporting, he's now siding with IBC for the first time. He's not condemning. Why don't you condemn this injustice? Why don't you condemn these things that will nullify this election, and yet you are one of the contestants? I submit.
Okay, thank you. And we're also joined by Douglas Kirimi this afternoon from Meru County, I believe. Douglas, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Miriam Ogutu, and also to Dr. David Matsanga and
the rest of the panelists.
Friend,
Yes.
A savior from. Good evening, Miriam Ogutu, and also Dr. David Matsanga, and Kiptanui, savior from Nakuru, and Jevan Karanja from Nanyuki, and also Daniel Wesonga from Nairobi. Thank you for having me on the show, Miriam.
All right, so nice to have you, and you've just gotten us in the middle of a conversation, and we're looking at the latest from the IEBC, and of course Chebukati is threatening to suspend polls in 31 areas over unending disputes in these courts. I don't know, what is your thoughts on that before I go back to Dr. Matsanga?
Pardon, Miriam, I haven't gotten the question clear.
We've had this conversation, but since you're joining, maybe you just pick from where we have reached. And right now, the IEBC chairperson, Wefula Chebukati, the latest, he is threatening to suspend polls in 31 areas over some of the court disputes, and he's also insisted that the printing of the presidential ballot papers will start on the 15th, and he wants to, of course, the commission says they're ready to even facilitate the presidential candidates. He still insists on 4, but we know the court ruled the other day that even the over 40 presidential candidates who were disqualified, some of them might come back. That is something that IBC is not addressing right now, so he's insisting the 4 presidential candidates, the representatives, the IEBC could facilitate for them to go to Greece and just look at how this process of printing of the presidential ballot papers is ongoing. And he's planning to do that from the 15th. I don't know, between now, today's 10th, and the 15th, will we have solved, first of all, the problem that was posed by that court ruling that said these over 40 presidential candidates have been right now could very well be cleared to run, and also Chebukati threatening to suspend polls in 31 areas in this country. How do you think about that? What's your thoughts?
Thank you. Thank you, Miriam. I think Chebukati has no regard for law, is disregarding the law, is not following the rule of law, is a lawyer, and he knows that if the courts have given directly endorsed to the letter. Secondly, Wafula Chebukati cannot claim he is about to suspend elections. We cannot have some places in this country people are not going to vote. We were told to be polling station back so that submission of the results over the internet is not. Ask ourselves a question: why would Wafula Chebukati not work out on the very nitty-gritties of the same electoral ideas and make sure that these people go to election?
Okay, we seem to be having a bit of a problem with the connection of Douglas Kirimi, not very good this afternoon. Matter of fact, I think we lost him there. But back to you, Doc. I'm sure you've been listening. Chebukati is saying he will insist, the printing of the presidential ballot papers will continue and will start on the 15th. Today is 10th, so tomorrow is 11th. So I don't know between tomorrow and the 15th, if at all this case by this ruling by the High Court, IEBC would have given us a way forward about the over 40 presidential candidates that were somehow cleared to run, for those who could be still willing to go ahead and be on the ballot.
Thank you very much, Miriam. I was reading as Cynthia says something which is very interesting. But first of all, let's come back to the facts. Whichever way you want to conclude this debate, and whichever way you want to take this debate, the onus remains on us. The onus remains on Kenyans. And it is upon you, Kenyans, yourselves, to find out whether the money that you paid Chebukati to conduct an election has been utilized properly, and the results of this election will be free, transparent, fair, and open. It is up to you, Kenyans, to find out whether the official Gazette notice, that gazettes, what comes next, is it you go out, arrest people, take them to court, then go for evidence, or you arrest them when you have fully finished investigations. It is up to you again to look at timelines. Has Chebukati adhered to timelines? The answer is no. There's no timeline that Chebukati has actually kept. There's no timeline. Up to today, Chebukati has sent for the register to be printed along with ballot papers. It means there is no register in this country. It is not there. We don't have it. Because what is being printed there could be another register, which is not the KPMG register. If you go to political parties' offices, headquarters, each political party should have copies of the register. Isn't it, Miriam? Then how are you going to know whether you are going to have this election, where you have strength? Are your people there? In normal elections that I have attended, witnessed, observed, monitored, you go to a political party like ODM, you find they show you that this is the government register. Even in Zimbabwe, the country that people verify every day, it has those registers are in political party. ZANU-PF, MDC, they have the party. The registers have been given copies to them, so that you leave your office when you know this is a strength, my voters are in, there is no query. Now, all these things of Chebukati have been done under a mystery, under a very big cloud. I am told, I read somewhere that Chebukati himself did not know that the papers were coming, that the ballot papers were. Now, if be careful, and you are going to see this work. If it doesn't work, then it will be a miracle. Mr. Marijan and Wafula Chebukati are going to fight again. Is it Marijuana or what is it called? Marijuana. What is his name?
Marijuana.
No, Marijan.
Marijan.
Marijan, the CEO. The CEO
for IBC. Yes. Sorry.
Because Wafula Chebukati says it is not his duty to see the ballot papers. So he was not equally not aware. Surely? Now, Mr. Marijuana came into place recently. Now, if you look at the political rallies that are taking place, there is one missing person in Kenya Kwanza who is believed to have been the contact between the Electoral Commission, the Greek company, and the people in Rome and London, who did not even go by Kenyan passport, diplomatic passport, but went through another passport, which he has. Now I'm bringing things for you. The sooner you'd be happy, I think you should smile. Look at Kenya Kwanza lineup. There's one man missing for a whole week. When he saw this scandal and his name mentioned, where is Adan Duale? Have you seen Savian? Have you seen Adan Duale on the Harare?
Has been missing in action for a while now.
Yes, he's not here, he's there. He has been cited in one of those capitals. I don't want to give you much information, though, that he runs back today, because we are following him. He's being followed very well. These are the people spoiling this country. He's gone to fix the deal, but not knowing that in that country where he has gone and landed, there are also people who have been notified. We are not going to keep quiet about this. To enrich a few people who make money and then bring chaos and violence to the people of Kenya. I'm not a Kenyan, but I would be the first man to give Cheptanui a petition. You are allowed to go and we are writing our petition. You will be our person. You will take it and say, I have this election should be nullified. You will be heard. The court has no right to stop you. Nobody has the right to stop you. And there's a point that, Miriam, you wanted to raise. You raised that the judiciary, you talked about the judiciary. Mm-hmm. You cannot tell the judiciary, I want you to do these things very quickly.
Did he not refuse to be in that sectoral committee that was formed so that all
exactly my blame here on Chebukati is he refused these people to sit there. They would know his problem so that they can panga the judges who can look at these matters quickly and give him the timelines he wanted. He refused them. Now today he's crying on the microphone that can the judiciary finish all this quickly, then we proceed with the elections. I tell you, my dear sisters, my brothers and sisters of Kenya, don't cry for me. Cry for yourselves who will pay the money twice for this election to be conducted for the second time. And you see, before we leave this, because we are about to engage ourselves on international scene, before we leave this medium, revolutions come because of a confusion. And for me, Dr. David Matsanga, who has seen several of that confusion elsewhere, I would rather choose to be very quiet from today. Because I don't want people to say, why are you not? I've raised enough red flags and I put enough red flags on the IEBC. In this confusion, someone somewhere will sit and say, you know, you took the money, you print papers, you bring them here, you confuse, you want people to die. It can become a terrible, terrible scenario that we wouldn't like to have anything to do with the situation as it is today. Therefore, for me, I just ask, there is a problem, the IEBC, and unfortunately, the law says you must conduct the election only on 9th, second week of August, and the date is 9th. But if there was a way, like what we did to the Nigerian election at 5 a.m., it was cancelled. They cancelled. The Nigerian Electoral Commission cancelled the election at 5 a.m. and the people were ready on the queue. We still have 29 days. If nothing improves here, I have a friend of mine why I'm very concerned, and let me be honest. My friend is called Jeff Kalui. Mr. Jeff Kalui did his 48,000 signatures. Submitted everything as it was. You remember last year he did the same. And Mr. Kalui, up to today, the IEBC told him, we are going to call you. Miriam, they have never called him. They have never called him. Either you have failed, or you don't have what is needed, or go and face the tribunal. Wafula did not tell him anything. And he has all the records and the letters from Wafula acknowledging the receipt of everything that he has. He's not as radical like other people who banned the identity cards and the radical or quick activists like Ekot. But I'm telling you, for him, he has the real evidence that can nail the presidential election. Whether Raila has won, or Ruto has won, or whoever you Kenyans choose, there's someone going to nullify this election. That's all I can tell you, and we close that subject, and we move on to other international matters. I don't know, I can see Onyango is here. I don't know, Miriam, whether you have seen Onyango is present.
Yes, I've just been
Paul Onyango, how are you?
I'm fine, Daktari, and the co-panelist at large.
Good afternoon.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sure you've been listening. I don't know what is your thoughts on the latest from the IEBC and the conversation that we've been having.
Okay, I have reservation concerning Chebukati conduct. I've been vocal about it. First, the questions that he was asked by the Azimio concerning the commission of employees who did illegality, whereby they transferred voters not as per the law. He said it on the media. He has been asked to tell the country the actions he has taken. So far, Chebukati has not pronounced himself. He's saying that he has submitted the report to them. I think even he was addressing the media, he mentioned something of the sort. But if you look at the presidential nullification, some of the areas they touched on were the commissioners or the employees of the commission were engaged in illegality and irregularities. This is part of what happened with the registers. Some of those commission employees were conducting irregularities or illegality. So I think the Supreme Court said these people should face the law by then. That commission that Chebukati had, nobody was taken to the court. Even this one, he has found some people culpable. Chebukati, I don't know whether he wants to punish them. He said that he's doing the internal mechanism, but if his election issue is a very serious matter that should not be left to the commission itself, they should be preceded by people are taken to court with evidence that's available. The mere conduct of Chebukati, he appears that he wants to bungle the election. And the end point where he is heading to, he wants to the two opposing sides to come to a compromise, maybe after somebody will have gone to court to nullify the election, whereby we see that there might be no need for going for a rerun or another election, such that they agree and we form what we call a ground coalition. So Chebukati is on somebody's plate. He wants to achieve something by doing that. Those people who want to be on the opposition do not want to go there. They want everybody to be included in the government. But as time goes by, I think what should, even if we reach to the point where we are going to court, or somebody will have gone to court, the Supreme Court judges are part of the Kenyan electorate or part of the Kenyan society. This time around, I think Chebukati should be taken to court. The same court should jail Chebukati, such that we can see the seriousness of election, because we cannot take round what we have been crying all along. The courts must pronounce themselves, because Chebukati was told to open the servers in 2017. Until today, those servers are still closed. Then we are heading to another general election with the same problems not being addressed. He's saying that he doesn't know whether the ballot papers were coming. So I don't know what sort of a commissioner he is. You cannot preside over an election whereby you don't know what is going on each and every time. You come and address us telling us the same. I think he is not fit for that position. So my take is this: Chebukati should be removed earlier before the election is done. That's my take.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and as you ask for that, Chebukati has insisted the elections must continue, and of course on the 7th, when they were having that press conference, he said the commission is on course in preparation for the general elections. All right, Javan, you've been listening, and a few other things have come up. I don't know, what is your thoughts on first of all, the 15th of July, that Chebukati is insisting they'll start printing the presidential ballot papers, and we know that there could be a possibility of having more candidates on that ballot paper.
Yeah, thank you, Miriam. And I think, as I have said earlier, IBC on itself has failed to deliver a credible election. It has failed to portray the public confidence that an institution like IBC deserves. That is why you find every Kenyan, even the politicians who are key stakeholders in this election, they have poked holes in the way and the manner in which IBC has conducted itself. We have seen the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga and the team question the credibility of IBC. We have also seen some quarters from even the UDA party claiming that this election might not be free and fair. Therefore, the baggage of proof that this election will be free and fair lies with Wafula Chebukati. We know what happened in 2017. There are still areas that the Supreme Court pointed out that need to be cleared. But Wafula Chebukati, till to date, he has not done so. He was asked to open the servers, but even to date, those servers have not been opened. Therefore, if Wafula Chebukati has failed to rectify the mistakes that were done in 2017 that culminated to the postponement of the the presidential ballot. That shows that he has not been keen in ensuring that this 2022 general election will be free and fair and will be different from what happened in 2017. Therefore, what we are seeing a process that is similar to that process in 2017 that caused a repeat presidential election and hundreds of other petitions by various candidates at different levels of leadership. Therefore, it's upon Wafula Chebukati and the team to ensure that they give Kenyans credibility. And since they have failed to do so this juncture, I think the best option that we have is to cancel the election and prepare adequately to save Kenyans from the pain and agony that is caused by an unwell-prepared election. Because we have been in this country in 2007, we were there in 2017, when minor and electoral malpractices caused Kenyans billions of money, cost Kenyans their lives. You know what happened to Baby Pendo and others who lost their lives demonstrating for fair presidential demonstrating in Nairobi and other areas. Property were destroyed. Therefore, if we can cancel this election for the better of this country, if we can postpone to save Kenyans from the pain that they go through because of an election that is not free and fair, then I think that will be just as enough to the people of Kenya and to everybody who loves this country. I think it's upon all of us as Kenyans to know that this election will come and go. But if it's done in the wrong way, Kenyans will have to go through pain. Kenyans will have to close their business because of this election. Elections are very critical and it's a matter of life that should not be joked with. And that is why we need seriousness from Wafula Chebukati and the team to avoid confusions and all manner of dramas that can erupt from an election that is not well prepared. On the issue of ballot paper, Wafula Chebukati has hurriedly printed ballot paper, and I don't know why he is in this hurry. And that is why I agree with the panelists who have said, maybe Wafula Chebukati is working for some quotas, maybe he is bidding for some politicians so that he can gain some material and viewpoints here and there. I think this is not good, and this election, Miriam, if it's not looked keenly, we might end up having similar events as those occurred in 2017 and maybe in 2013. Mm-hmm. We might end up having a nullification of the presidential ballot and maybe other ballots as we move on. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. And before we move this matter, Doc, and move on to something else, but this was our main topic today. There's something that you brought up, and maybe we did not pay a bit of attention to that, and that is the issue of Smartmatic International, which is the company mandated to provide with the supply of the voter identification. So there's some interesting read here on page 24 on the Sunday Nation. So let me just bring this to attention, and then maybe I'll hear your thoughts about what we have in this story. Smartmatic International, the company contracted to supply voter identification system in next month's polls, has a controversial track record that has seen multiple countries question the reliability of its technology in the aftermath of poll disputes from the US to Venezuela, Zambia, Uganda, and the Philippines. Smartmatic's reputation has taken a hit amid accusation of tender irregularities and providing kits that are vulnerable to tampering. So I'll just leave that there because it's a long story, and then I'll just keep a few lines and come to the Kenyan situation. So Smartmatic builds and implements electronic voter systems. It was contracted by the IEBC to supply up to 10,000 kits for use in the upcoming polls. It is also the software provider for the kits, having replaced OT Morpho, now called Idemia, which was the technology service provider for the IEBC in 2017. Now, the IEBC contract award to Smartmatic had been challenged at the Public Procurement Administrative Review Board, which had nullified it following an appeal by Risk Africa Innovators Limited. However, the High Court later allowed IEBC to proceed and award the contract to Smartmatic. Besides Smartmatic, the IEBC technology tender had also attracted the bids of Risk Africa Innovators Limited, Indus Solutions Technologies. I think that one is from Italia, among others. Now, an article in the Manila Times of Philippines published on January 31st of this year stated that a government agency of the country in Manila, in Philippines, Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Center, concluded that Smartmatic is compromised following the 2016 elections. So that is in Philippines. And then in Venezuela in 2017, Smartmatic, on its own acknowledged that the turnout voter figures, this is Smartmatic, acknowledged that the turnout voter figures were manipulated by at least 1 million. And in Uganda, the biometric voter kits failed, forcing election officials to revert to the manual system. And also there's another country, in the US, Smartmatic accused the Fox News network promoting false narrative in the aftermath of the hotly contested 2020 US elections. And of course, Smartmatic provided the election technology in the US during the 2020 elections, and we see how that played out. So looking from all these examples in the country that Smartmatic was responsible for the biometrics, for the voter registration, for the technological part of the elections in this country, and having the information that Smartmatic in itself, say in Venezuela in 2017, it did acknowledge that the biometric it had were manipulated by at least 1 million voters. So when you look at that and some of the allegations that the Azimio One Kenya team have been making, the claims they've been making, are they right in raising concerns over, this digital voters register farm and its capability and not to deliver an election that is not is not manipulated and whose integrity has not been compromised, Doc? Maybe I'll go to
Miriam. I don't know why we should even repeat this, because it is very important that we repeat and make our records straight. I've been talking about isn't that the same group which was done without publication to the Kenyans? It's already ground for nullification. There was no public participation. Because if there was public participation, then people would raise these issues that are being raised now. Someone would go and say, no, this company has done a bungled election somewhere else. Don't give it this tender. Wafula, with the 3 commissioners, did these things on their own. And yesterday, I was watching this deputy chairperson, Charara, with Justice Angwenyi, Angwenyi, the judge, the former judge, who is on the panel. They were talking, but you can see from their faces, they were not even confident of what they were talking about. Especially the former judge, who should actually be honest. This is a mess. There is also data that we say Kenya, Kenyans might vote very seriously. But guess what will happen? These international companies, Miriam, will mess us up in their data system. They will mess it up. One company is still looking for data. Do you think that company wants the result to be credible? Do you think that, no, honestly, do you think that the company wants those results to be, it has not been paid their money? And you think they will sit there and watch another company take over the contract and to make some money, and it will interfere with these elections. So we still have so many things, and to wrap up so that we can go to something else of international attention. This is not a good election. The preparedness of this election was inadequate. There were so many bottlenecks. The IEBC should have come out in normal democracy, resign, and go home. There was some resignation over the weekend where a man who had put over billions of dollars into buying Twitter, he found something very not working. And he said, I'm not going to stay here. I want myself out because I can't compromise that type of thing. So in Africa, we have not yet learned how to say, I am going. I'm going like the British Prime Minister says. I've looked back, I've looked this way, I've been Chebukati of Kenya. But finally, all the reasons I've been giving to Almighty God and to my MPs, they have found that I am the wrong man. So on this one, he said there is no politician who is not vulnerable to resignation. If I were Chebukati, I would use the same words, that there is no chairman of the Electoral Commission who is not vulnerable to mistakes. Therefore, I have quit. I would just say I am quitting. But he doesn't want to say that. He wants to be forced out. So, not even forced out. And by the way, Miriam, the contract of Chebukati ends in September. Did you know that? So we are dealing with, even when you are having a visa, you are traveling to a country which needs a visa, they tell you don't bring a passport that has not got more than 10 pages.
That at least does not have at least a good month to it before it expires.
Yes, but your passport is going to expire in September. And you are handling elections of 55 million Kenyans who might fight. What was this money that we are looking for? What was this that we are looking for? You hear that? They say 10 months. Chebukati contract is ending. You Kenyans are not seeing. Chebukati's contract ends in 2022, September.
So he really has nothing to lose at this point
now,
because he's not
okay. In case, can I ask, and I want to put another question. The contract ends in September. In case this election is nullified, who is the chairman?
And with all these legal hurdles, there's a high likelihood.
So we have another problem. Chebukati could want to stay around for 1 month, then leave. You see, that is already a dangerous area. And I leave it to the deputy chairperson, the lady. So what Chebukati is doing in his mind with his new shirts, he has also tried to swear some Vitenge shirts, posing around with cameras like a combe. My friend, this is not a combe style. This is very serious business. Yeah, Miriam, I tell you, That guy, when I see him on TV, I know he's making a mistake. And every time when I say, oh my God, I hate, there are people that go on TV, I say, oh, until it is over. But now, I want you as a Kenyan, wherever you are seated, what you are doing right now, tell me, hey, tell me, September is the dead end. Dead. His contract finishes. Nobody has renewed it. There's no parliament to renew his contract. The parliament is on sine die. In case we go into a rerun, who will run the elections? So he has decided he can't reverse, he can't look back, because if he cancelled it, then other people will find out the loopholes. You know, it is very difficult now for you, a commission of inquiry, to be set. As soon as he finishes the term of office, the guy could relocate to Mexico and keep quiet because he has made a lot of money. There was a lot of money that exchanged hands. So that is all I say. There is still quite a lot. And as Kenyans and the media, we want to ask people to be patient, but also we should not be gagged from expressing some of the shortcomings of the IEBC. That's all I can say. Let's move on to a subject called Sri Lanka and the uprising. If you don't mind, then we finish it, we go home and wait for
Chebukati tomorrow.
Yes.
Because now he has to keep updating us on the preparation and what is happening, and perhaps the next time we will be receiving another batch of the ballot papers. All right. So
yeah, but no.
Yeah.
Miriam.
But he seems not to be phased. He's continuing as if it's business as usual. Even with the court.
With the ballot papers.
Yeah.
With ballot papers, you are going to receive them anyway, because they are not being printed in Greece. They are somewhere else in Rome and London. There is no printer in Greece that works. They don't have. Greece is a bankrupt country. For you to take your papers to be printed in Greece, when you go to Greece with $50,000, the Prime Minister of Greece will call you for dinner. What does that tell you? Does Kenyatta call here people for dinner? Because they have come with huge money and they are buying the whole hotel and all the workers are being given a tip. Allah, you see what I'm meaning? Wesonga knows what life is. Life is with his suits. You know, when you reach a hotel, you have to tip here, tip there, tip here, tip there. The Prime Minister of Greece will know that you are present. There's a man who has come. So what will stop Ruto, who likes giving money out quietly, to obtain a new set of ballot papers, which they are now shipping from Karamoja into Uganda, into Kenya? The money coming from Karamoja. That's why he stayed there last night. Mr. Ruto, you are meeting Ugandan officials. Are you a resident commissioner? Where, Ruto? Are you a resident commissioner here to meet Ugandan officials? What were you doing with them? That I am in Rotwa. We know what you are doing. Where? Nyenye wa Kenya, mimi nawaambia. It's up to you.
Okay.
You see,
we are watching.
yeah, look at this. Look at this, Miriam. Cameras don't lie. In the crowd yesterday, the crowd that was at Lochiga, I saw 4 Ugandans whom I know very well. So, Mr. Ruto, are you addressing? What are you trying to do? And why is it that Mudavadi had to abandon the ship and say, I'm not going on that, and Wetangula? By the way, in 2013, I want Wesonga to bring me this story. 83 people were killed in Bungoma after the 2013 elections. 83 people were murdered in cold blood one night. There were rebels rumored to be around that area. It's Wetangula and the Ruto planning something that we have to tell the people. Tuzungumze hii kitu kama bado ingia. Daniel Wesong.
We are aware.
And the Daniel has disappeared.
Doctor, we are aware.
83, you know, over 100 people. 83 people were killed in Bumula, slaughtered in cold blood. How many people have been arrested for that slaughter? Why did Mudavadi refuse to go on the trip towards Lodwar and the Karamoja border, the Turkana border? You will tell me.
He has been left on.
So, Miriam, I would like to address the Sri Lanka uprising.
Yes, just a bit of a background, Doc, and then you can wrap up that for us. Sri Lanka President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has announced he will step down after protesters stormed his official residence and set the Prime Minister's house on fire. Neither the Prime Minister nor the President were in the building at the time. Hundreds of thousands descended into the capital, Colombo, calling for Mr. Rajapaksa to resign after months of protest over economic mismanagement. Mr. Rajapaksa will step down on 13th July. Prime Minister Wickremesinghe has agreed to resign. The Speaker of Parliament said the President decided to step down to ensure a peaceful handover of power and called on the public to respect the law. The announcement triggered an eruption of celebratory fireworks in the city. All right, back to you, Doc.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to make the following observations. The wind of change that is flowing towards the East Asian states, namely the fragile states of Asia, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and the rest, is a testimony of what some of us have been talking about for a long time. The regime change tactics played by the CIA outfits of George Soros in toppling the Prime Minister of Pakistan, who was toppled after demonstrators besieged his house, Parliament took a vote, is the same wind that is blowing for anybody in the Asian enclave who would like to be a friend to Russia or has some sympathy for Russia or has said he has some links with China. Is it the Cold War that is coming back to play? Is it the Cold War that is playing that we see today, that when you are too close to China or too close to Russia, you are deemed to be an enemy of the Americans? And therefore, they will instigate a regime change, tighten a noose around your neck, and get calling people to come and throw you out. The rising prices and the cost of living among the most states in Africa and Asia and the third world is a result of poor planning by most of the third world countries, and namely by things which are beyond our control. In Kenya here, I saw Mr. Ruto telling people that the Ukrainian crisis does not affect maize. But Mr. Ruto has failed that he has failed to tell the people that he sold maize. He got maize from Uganda Produce Marketing Board, together with the PPS of the principal private secretary of the president, who was the side dish of his family, or he was his concubine. They sold maize to National Cereals Board of Kenya, and they left the maize of the farmers without them preserving some maize, which is now hitting the cost of the flour, which is a packet of flour going at 200 per packet. It is therefore very important that as we cheer the Sri Lanka situation, we must also rethink of what could happen to our own institutions in Africa. Is Africa not vulnerable to such situations? What examples do we give to a killing where a prime minister a former prime minister is shot in broad daytime? What type of violence is this world turning into? The uprisings in Sri Lanka, the occupation of the government houses, the glorification of these images put quite a lot of pressure on the African governments to start doing reforms. It is important, therefore, reforms are done. And I would like to tell Fred that let it be a takeaway. I hope it will be a takeaway since I started. It is important, therefore, that reforms are put in place as a stopgap measure to an uprising, revolutions, military coups, and other things that could happen to the African continent. We are all vulnerable. There is no person in the world who is not vulnerable to the cost of living that is rising, whether in Britain. The only thing that we are not vulnerable to is the degree of how it affects a British national buying things and eating an ordinary citizen to an African citizen on the streets of Nairobi, where corruption has been rampant and most of the money borrowed to do projects has ended up eaten by corrupt officials of the government. It is a lesson for us that never should we allow the Sri Lankan way to come to upstage what we have created in independence, since independence, but only to modify and to keep our hopes that one day, and one day alone, one day and one day alone, there will be salvation for the continent of Africa, that we shall not have organizations that create chaos like the IEBC in a fragile situation of elections in Kenya every 5 years. Therefore, I submit that enough is enough. Many things have gone wrong, but Africa must be prepared for what could come, because what could come would be more than what it is in Sri Lanka if we are not careful. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for that. And that will be a good place for us to end the show this afternoon. Thank you so much, Douglas Kirimi, Daniel Wesonga, Jevan Karanja, and Kiptanui Savania, and of course, Dr. David Matanga. This has been Africa Showdown, and it dwelt so much on the Kenyan situation as we gear up to the elections, which just about 29 days to go. And so it is important, and this will continue to be our big topic, and of course not neglecting other things that are happening across Africa and indeed across the world. So thank you so much for that. My name is Miriam Ogoto. It was a pleasure. Bye-bye for now.